jungle there. So we blasted right across into the area called the Parrots Beak and the Flatiron area, and we worked this area right in here. And in that 58 days, we just wreaked havoc. There were hospital complexes, propaganda headquarters. This flag came out of a bunker in one of those complexes. In the bunker with this flag was a Soviet flag and a North Korea flag. Now explain that to me. We found cartoons of President Nixon, a duffel bag with 3 American flight suits and helmets in it, and photographs of downed pilots. So pilots were being shot down, taken into Cambodia, and then marched barefoot for the most part up into North Vietnam, into Hanoi, and the famous Hanoi Hilton. So anyhow, so after the invasion of Cambodia, which we did so much damage, Nixon then followed up with the laying of mines in the Haiphong Harbor to stop the Russians from resupplying North Vietnam. And then he renewed the bombing of Hanoi, which started pounding their military factories and stuff. So those things added up to North Vietnam really being hit hard. In the previous years, 5, 6, 7 years, whatever it's been, they'd spent at the Paris peace talks arguing over the shape of the table. They wanted a round table, so there wouldn't be one, Asians in other countries and nationalities and cultures assign a lot of importance to where you're sitting at a table. But I think they were really stalling and watching what was going on in our political climate, because I guarantee you they were watching the protests and the flag burnings and all that. And in my mind and the other soldiers over there, they were aiding and abetting our enemies. So they were just sitting back waiting for, this is going to be very slanted. They were waiting for unpatriotic Americans to win the war for them, and it was working in a way. But anyhow, so those 4 things, the failure of the Tet Offensive, the invasion of Cambodia, the mining of Haiphong Harbor, and then the renewed bombing of Hanoi, brought them to the bargaining table. We came up with a solution of, here's the deal. You get your troops out of South Vietnam, we'll take our troops out, we'll give your prisoners back, you give our prisoners back. Let's let South Vietnam solve its problems at the ballot box. We're true to form to socialism and communism. As soon as we were out, we pulled out March 29th, 1973. That was the last combat troops left Vietnam. As soon as we were gone, the North were staged here again with new supplies from Russia and China, and they reinvaded the South. And 2 years and 1 month later, Saigon fell. 2 years and 1 month after the last combat troop left Vietnam. We were not driven out of Vietnam. We were voted out of Vietnam. Yes, Congress shut off supplies of helicopter fuel, bullets, parts, and now South Vietnam, standing on its own after angering the North Vietnamese for so many years, they wreaked havoc on South Vietnam. I had read stories of that they had. Matter of fact, we have a friend of Judy's who escaped during the airlift of '75. That they started rounding up policemen, school teachers, anybody in the military, and if they weren't murdered and tortured, they were sent to re-education camps. Welcome to socialism. And by the way, they renamed South Vietnam the Socialist Republic of Vietnam. So these people trying to sell the new socialism, well, it just hasn't been tried in the right way yet. I'm sorry. So there you go.
Thank you.
So yeah, we won in Vietnam, and several of my buddies told me when we were running this back and forth. While I was writing my book, I was in contact with a lot of my friends, and this was all coming out. We lost. This is the only war the United States ever lost. And 3 or 4 of my buddies said, "What do you mean? We were winning when I left. How do you figure we lost?" So yeah, we were not driven out of Vietnam. We were voted out by a Congress that didn't have the stomach to continue on. So
Had fake news back then, didn't we?
I'm sorry.
We had fake news back then.
We did, very much so. Very much so.
They did not want to lose their next election.
Yeah.
That was the politics of it.
Yeah.
They
And
were cowards.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because this Vietnam also differed from other wars in that we would get in contact with we'd run in entire battalions of North Vietnamese, and we would fight them and we'd push them and we'd hit them back up. As soon as we hit the Cambodian border, we had to stop. We couldn't follow them anymore. And especially when you're chasing an army, you're doing damage, because you can't, it's hard to run and defend yourself at the same time. So when they told us we were going into Cambodia, a bunch of us said, yes, it's payback time, and it was. We had firefights. We were hit one time, 7 times in one day. My platoon, 5 times in one day. But the 11th Cav had 7 firefights going simultaneously. That's when they finally decided that they couldn't afford to be losing this much equipment and men to us. So they started pushing back, and that's when they really got hurt. So we did not lose the war in Vietnam. Oh, and by the way, if you have questions, throw them up. I mean, this is informal, and you know, so. Secondly, we were not a bunch of drugged, crazed murderers. I hate Full Metal Jacket, Apocalypse Now. Just go down the list. I don't even like Rambo. I'm okay with Rambo. He's my son-in-law, but Rambo, I got a problem with the psychic serial killer with a cause. That was not the Vietnam veteran. Yes.
When you were in the field of battle, were you aware of what was going on in the United States?
Very much so. We were aware, to hear the question, when we were in there fighting, were we aware of what was going on back home? Yes. I graduated high school in 1967, planning, assuming I would be drafted, and started educating myself. And yeah, the protests. I was raised in East Bay, San Francisco, i.e. Berkeley, Oakland, where all the great things have come from, the great thinkers. Yeah, we knew what we were walking into, and the lack of support. And also, occasionally, we would get care packages from home, cookies, Kool-Aid, because the water they were giving us was between the chlorine. We were pumping our water, drinking water out of bomb craters. Well, you can't drink this stuff. It's got chemicals in it, and it's got parasites the VA still don't have names for. So they would just saturate it with chlorine, and it tasted so bad, and that leached the plastic taste out of our canteens. And then when it's 100 degrees out, the water's 100 degrees. So Kool-Aid was really good. We'd asked for Kool-Aid for home, but the folks were sending us these care packages. They were about 2 weeks old, so the cookies were, and they were kind of, you know, they were well done. But folks didn't realize that the newspapers, they were wrapping some of the stuff in. Yeah, you know where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
Headlines, Kent University, you know. And we knew before we left we were going to be called baby killers. So back to drugs things. Yeah, there was a lot of drugs there. Some of them, I believe, were being pushed on the GIs or even sold to them, made available because it was a weapon. Guys, you would not believe what the North Vietnamese were using for weapons against us. We were cautioned about drinking beer that was sold by individuals on the roads and stuff. They were always following us around when we were near a village to sell us things, because the Vietnamese were putting ground up glass in beer. Now, ground up glass is invisible in liquid, also battery acid. Well, you know, it's 100 degrees out, you're chugging a beer or soda up, and all of a sudden you've got your esophagus is being shredded. Horrible things you would never dream a person would use as a booby trap / thing to injure you. So anyhow, yeah, there was some drug usage. Myself, I never once used it. None of my, most of my closest friends did. And of all the guys in my unit, which was at a time 140 guys, we had 1 overdose. So again, the media has just exaggerated that.
I think I read somewhere that there's less drug usage among Vietnam veterans than the average population. Overall.
Yeah, there's more going on college campuses
Over the
today.
years, in the past, yeah.
And it was available, and it was abused, but the Vietnam soldier, I'll speak for all of them. we had cliques. There were guys we hung with